blue.
Coming up on the shores of Lake Michigan.
Here we are.
Charlevoix, Michigan.
Charlevoix.
Quaint,
Sure, it's gonna be very cool
quaint
there.
resort town.
Oh, I remember driving through this town. This really is really beautiful. It's got extremely blue water.
Really?
Yeah, like tropical.
Oh, like lake blue.
Yeah, crazy.
There's a broader pool of people who maybe identify as skiers or snowboarders, as you mentioned, who maybe they don't ski every year, but maybe they're sort of an every other year or every third year, or maybe they used to ski more because they went to college somewhere that was close to a ski area, but then they got a job somewhere else, and they sort of dropped out a little bit from skiing. So there is definitely a much broader pool of people who identify as skiers or snowboarders versus our more strict definition of what we call active skiers and snowboarders. We have a pretty good handle on that number of active skiers and snowboarders. What we don't know with a lot of precision is what's the size of that lapsed pool? What's the size of that pool of people who identify as skiers and snowboarders, who are good targets? They may have skied in the past. Can the industry get them back into the sport?
Let's look at the solution side. What are the opportunities that we've got out here? Obviously, we've got an amazing product. We've been talking about, what we could be doing from a messaging standpoint to communicate value as a way of combating the negative perceptions of the sport. Let's jump in there and talk about some of those. What might be top of mind for you?
Well, I think that, an outdoor activity in the wintertime is something that we hear that one of the reasons people want to try skiing and one of the things they like about skiing is it gets them outside in the wintertime. And so promoting the health benefits and the exercise benefits and being outdoors, getting fresh air, having a great view, and when it comes to the family, getting kids off their screens and having some non-screen time out on the mountain and the chairlift ride, it can be like a really good place to connect with your kids and your family, and then just sharing that experience together is definitely just overall healthy. Getting outside, spending quality time together as a family.
There's a whole story there. Just to take the chairlift.
Yeah.
And that opportunity to have alone time with your kid, or have be on a six-pack with the grandparents, parents, and two kids, and having a real conversation about what are the things going on in their lives.
Yeah, and it's not only families. It's also singles without kids who you get to know your buddies, you get to know your friends better, you get to spend time together on a guy's trip or a girl's trip or a co-ed trip. You never know who you're going to meet on a ski trip. I met my wife skiing. We met on the hill. We got introduced by a mutual friend. We were all skiing together. I'd never met her before, and that was 20 years ago.
We all know so many stories that are just like that.
Yeah.
Couples that went skiing, fell in love, and because you have such a common interest. Anybody that's out on the mountain, you've got something to talk about, and that's what makes it so fun. Jumping on a lift. I love riding single, and jumping on a lift with a bunch of people,
and talking to people,
and you start talking with them, and it's so easy to do that because you have so much in common. Yeah, I think those are some really good high value messages that we could be utilizing to counter some of the negative perceptions that are out there. Another one I think is talking about combating that message that skiing and riding is too expensive. There's a big difference between luxury skiing and economy skiing, I guess I might call it.
Sure, it's like when you go buy a car. You could buy a smaller, two-door car, or you could buy a big expensive SUV. They're both cars. They're both going to get you where you need to go, but the experience that they provide you is different, and the price point is different. And I think that really emphasizes the importance of the smaller ski areas that do have a lower ticket price and a lower cost of entry, because they provide that spectrum of cost to the consumer that is important, particularly for new new skiers and snowboarders. But not everybody wants the same thing, and not everybody wants the same product, and not everyone's willing to pay the different prices for these. So having that spectrum of offerings, the small local ski hill, maybe you just go to it after work because they have night skiing and it's close to your house, or this ski area that's perfect for just a weekend getaway, and it's sort of a mid-price resort. And then you have our big trip, we're going to get in the car and drive for a long way, or maybe even get on an airplane. And maybe that trip only happens once every couple of years. It's not necessarily every year. But the fact that there are a variety of options is really critical to the health of the industry.
And affordable. I mean, I would contend you could take $150 and fully outfit an individual with good quality skis, poles, boots, helmet. There are every fall in at least a lot of like northern communities, there are ski swaps, and of course going online to Craigslist or what have you, you can get good quality used equipment without spending hundreds or thousands of dollars. And then you can go to your any one of these smaller ski areas and get on for as low as I was in Vermont. I one day passed by this small ski area and pulled in and met the guy.
So I'm Wade Pearson, second out of 3 generations. Okay, they gotta go.
He was charging, I think it was $250 a kid on a weekday.
$2.50.
Yeah.
Really?
So when people say that skiing and riding is too expensive, I call BS on that. That's garbage. But unfortunately, the perception is out there because every fall, the New York Times or whomever is going to run, there's going to be that story, and it's going to feature the most expensive. It's going to feature a veil at $200, window rate, and that's the story. And so people come away telling themselves that this is too expensive for me and my family. So when I'm planning my family and Junior is 3 years old, and you're making that decision, do we get into skiing and riding? I love skiing and riding, but geez, honey, I don't think we can afford it. If we don't do something to challenge that perception holds. And I think that's a role that needs the independent ski areas, the regional associations. They can't take that on. That has to be done at the national level to really shift that perception. I strongly believe you're an independent ski area or a conglomerate, whichever, but you're in the role of marketing director. You only have so much time and so much bandwidth. You've got your own product to sell. You can't be selling this big picture of the activity, the sport, the culture, and I think that's where we need to bring in some horsepower and look at something at a national level. It takes PR to get these stories placed in scripts that send people off to Colorado or Vermont to have a great time, to meet that special person or to bond with your friends or your family, instead of I went to Vermont, if it's Seinfeld or whatever, I go to Vermont, you come back, what's going to happen. Someone's going to come back in a cast, and that's the cliche script that gets played over and over and over again. And if it isn't challenged, if we do nothing to challenge that perception, that's going to continue to be what we've got. And then we've got this boulder. It's so difficult, I think, for those marketers out there at the ski resorts to be constantly fighting these negative perceptions. Well, so I think we've got some challenges, no doubt, that we've discussed, and some really great opportunities for us to collectively, really move the needle as an industry. And now is the time. The focus is on growth right now. And it's really exciting to have all these discussions, so thanks a lot for sharing.
My pleasure. Thanks, Dave.
Right on, right on.